Well, the presidential campaign of 2020 is over. It's been over for about a year. And some people are starting to talk about 2024. It is early on one sense, but in another sense, we have a set of unusual circumstances that we haven't seen in modern times. We've got an incumbent president who many, including people who support him, say will probably not run again. A vice president about whom questions are raised, including by some of the president's own aides about whether she'd be the right person to run. And on the Republican side, in Donald Trump, someone who lost the presidency but is poised, as something hasn't happened in a very long time, to potentially run again. So, folks, I want to bring you back in and raise one other name, Hillary Clinton. She's done several things over the last week that have made some people wonder whether she's interested in running again. So, folks, not just for the shock value, but because I'm curious, I want to go around and ask you one word. If you knew right now that the major party nominees for president in 2024 were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, in one or two words, how would you feel about that matchup? If that's what the choice the country faced in 2024, Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, one or two words, how would you feel about that? Vicente?
Great.
Great. Okay, Leah?
We're doomed.
Okay. Melissa?
Not tremendous choices.
All right. Shermar?
Amused.
Pete?
Or it'd be horrible.
Horrible. Okay. Naresh?
Great.
Great. Tyson?
2016 repeat.
Okay. Victoria?
Damned.
Okay. President Biden's poll numbers, just as objective fact, are not good. His poll numbers have dropped, and he's certainly dealing with a lot of things this week. His legislative agenda somewhat stalled, still dealing with problems with inflation, obviously with the pandemic. So he's certainly dealing with a lot of challenges. I want to start with you, Tyson. Just ask you, well, how would you summarize, if you were speaking to some Dutch high school students, how would you explain to them what's going wrong with the Biden presidency right now?
Disagreement on almost everything, even within the Democratic Party between Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema and himself.
Leah, how would you answer that question? What's sort of at root? What's the problem bedeviling the Biden presidency?
I'm with Tyson. I feel like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. They go out and they do press conferences and they're in clear disagreement with one another on the record. And as an attorney, and a publicist, it's a freaking nightmare.
Just to clarify, do you think the biggest problem with the Biden presidency right now is disagreements within the Democratic Party as opposed to between Democrats and Republicans? Is that right?
Yes, it's dissension within the party itself, but it's coming from the Biden, everybody that's in leadership, because they're not in cahoots with what's going on.
Raise your hand if the choice is between competence and incompetence. Raise your hand if you'd say the Biden administration, the Biden White House is competent. Raise your hand if you'd say they're competent. All right, so two of you say they're competent. Raise your hand if you think they're incompetent. All right, so that's the other six. Raise your hand if you think Joe Biden is a liberal as opposed to a moderate. Raise your hand if you think Joe Biden is a liberal.
He's governing as one.
Governing is, yeah, that's what I mean. His policies have been liberal. Two of you think that. Vicente, you think he is a moderate or something else?
I'd say he's an old school Democrat who's currently in an argument with everyone else in the Democratic Party who's gone more to the left than him. And honestly, it's working in our favor. But at the end of the day, he's definitely hurting the country more than anything.
I don't think this is about Biden, though. I think it has more to do with Congress. They're the ones they made these promises. They said they were going to pass all these laws, which I was afraid of, these bills and there were maybe 7 or 8 of them. And not a single one outside of one small foreign policy thing regarding Pakistan ended up happening. Not a single one. So it's great if you're not a Democrat. This is good news. So looking forward to 2022.
Well, we could start talking about Kevin McCarthy and the mess he's dealing with. He's got insurrectionists working in his party underneath him. He will not be Speaker of the House, and he will not be the leader of his majority party if they take the majority.
I think it's a joke to call what happened on the 6th an insurrection. If Trump would have said, I want you to take over, it would have happened. There was enough people, but Trump never wanted that to happen, so he never said it.
He has played mafia boss his
hanging
entire
gallows
career.
Outside of the nation's
But did Trump tell them
capital.
to? If Trump would have said, go take over, it would have happened.
Just as we did not settle global warming, just as we did not settle the pandemic, we're not going to settle this. We got just enough time for me to ask my favorite question. Who's going to be elected president in 2024? One name. Who's going to be elected president in 2024? Vicente?
Trump.
Melissa?
Ron DeSantis.
Okay. Shermar?
I have no idea right now.
All right.
Biden.
Biden. Naresh?
The Republican.
The Republican. All right. Leah?
I have no idea. Pass.
Okay. Pete?
DeSantis.
DeSantis. And Tyson?
I think it will be DeSantis.
Okay. Victoria?
Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg. All right. Interesting. We're not getting a lot of Donald Trumps when I ask this question. Raise your hand if you think there is less than a 10% chance that Donald Trump will be elected president in 2024. Less than 10% chance. All right. I'm giving everybody a chance to vote. All right. About half of you think less than 10. All right. Thank you all very much. Very much appreciate you participating. Good conversation. I wish we'd settle more, but pick some tough topics. Thank you. Have a great holiday, and thank you all for being with us. And thank you all for watching. You can see this program every weekend right here on Newsmax TV.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.